From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, don't even bother looking for seats in this restaurant. We look into the rise of ghost restaurants. Why one Republican senator would like to see the entire USDA moved out of Washington, D.C., and the efforts to save land, lives, and livestock as California wildfires continue to burn.
Currently, we're estimating the fire to be at 3,950 acres plus with zero containment.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Portions of the country dealing with some weather extremes right now. Let's begin out west where fires are raging across parts of California. This map showing where all the active fires are in the state. Hot, dry winds are sweeping across California, causing energy companies to cut the power to hundreds of thousands of customers. The goal to prevent another catastrophic wildfire from being accidentally sparked by their equipment. At the same time, crews are battling the wildfires starting in Northern California wine country and the so-called Kincaid fire in the Sonoma County town of Gyersville. That fire has burned 49 buildings and exploded to 25 square miles. This fire also being whipped up by strong winds that have forced the power company to impose blackouts. Now, as of Friday, it is only 5% contained. Now, the fire started last Wednesday night near the geysers. That's the world's largest geothermal field where nearly 24 power plants draw steam from more than 350 mountain wells to create electricity. And in Southern California, punishing Santa Ana winds, pushing the so-called tick fire into Los Angeles area neighborhoods, burning 6 homes there. Firefighters are trying to protect horse farms and other rural properties from the blaze. Crews also working to try and contain several other smaller fires. The wind-whipped blazes broke out Thursday in the Santa Clarita area. As many as 50,000 people were told to evacuate.
As we do the evacuation orders, know that we are behind all those neighborhoods that are evacuated. There are deputies standing vigil all night long, all day until they're repopulated. So if the order comes down, please pay attention to the order. And we want people to evacuate safely in a timely manner so that way the fire department can devote their efforts to fighting fires instead of having to effect rescues.
And look at this. No, this isn't Colorado or Montana, but the Texas Panhandle. On Friday, it was hit with an unusually early snowstorm that even included thunder snow. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service in Amarillo, Texas, reporting they saw 5.5 inches of snow right outside their building. Over the weekend, the weather pendulum swung back the other way, with temperatures moving back into the 60s and 70s before dipping again into the 40s. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joins us now. Cindy, it looks like cold air will be sticking around for much of the country.
That's right, Clinton. These cold temperatures are going to be continuing, especially for the nation's midsection. Take a look at the jet stream here, and you can see we still have a pretty big trough that encompasses a good part of the middle part of the country. The only really warm air we see is pretty much out on the coast, the southeast, up along the east coast, and over along the west coast and the very far southern part of the country. Now notice as we get into the week that trough continues to really hold on strong. Here's Wednesday and look at that really cold air, especially up in the Great Lakes, but it's going to be chilly even down into especially the northern part of Texas. Heading into our Thursday and Friday, we warm it up just a little bit in spots, especially in kind of that central part of the country, into the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, but things do look to cool down again as we get into the weekend, as we see another reinforcing trough for the eastern part of the country, while the western part of the country has a chance to warm up. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at your national forecast. Clinton?
The weather challenges are continuing for producers into harvest time, just as they were when we started out during planting season. And for one Nebraska hog producer, it's been a particularly tough year. National reporter Betsy Gibbon brought us the story earlier this year of a farmer forced to use a boat to keep his hog herd safe from the flood. Now she has an update on how he's doing.
John Tyson wastes no time. He talks as he moves from tire to tire.
Just got to get everything set up and ready to go.
He's in a hurry to harvest, but knows nothing this year has been under his control.
Try and not get run out first day in the field and say, oh, I should have done that.
Getting to fall has been anything but easy. The farm ground around Tyson's hog barn in Blair is just miles away from the Missouri River. It looks like this now, with some standing water.
This was all water. Last time, yeah, she's got a picture of it. Yeah, there was water here. Well, the boat was parked right there, right in front of our pickups.
While this is the view currently, it's flooded 3 times during 2019. The first back in March, by far the worst. Tyson used a friend's boat to get to his hogs.
He brought it down. He said, just keep it as long as you need it. So
His hogs, luckily, on higher ground.
there's a field road right there. Now it's kind of a little higher spot. So we were just wanting to know when we get past it so I can let the motor back down, or if we're going to get stuck.
In March, Tyson made multiple trips per day. Most of the treks were to haul 15 to 20 feed bags per trip for a total of 80 bags per day. He had just 1,000 head in the barn, feeder pigs, which weighed roughly 50 pounds. Tyson isn't alone facing headaches this year. It started when precipitation and snowmelt in the Missouri River Basin created flooding, floating down the Missouri River. The Army Corps of Engineers increased the amount of water being released downstream, which filled up reservoirs and forced more water to be let go, flooding Tyson more than once.
As soon as it looks like it might be coming up, we're getting the generator in there. We got the feed truck driver on speed dial.
In the months following, Tyson managed to plant where he could, clean up his property, and spend thousands of dollars to repair his own roads to the barn each time it flooded.
You spent thousands on probably cleaning, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Rented a scraper to move dirt.
During a year when farming can be unmanageable, Tyson looks forward to next year, where he can hopefully see fields instead of floodwaters. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. More positive signs in trade talks with China. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro telling Fox News on Friday the two sides, quote, seem to be on the glide path to a possible signing of a phase 1 trade deal in Chile next month. Reuters reporting U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin will travel to Beijing next week to meet face-to-face with their Chinese counterparts. The two sides talking over the phone last week. Now, Beijing was expected to ask the U.S. to remove tariffs imposed in September and to cancel a proposed tariff hike planned for December. In turn, China would exempt some U.S. ag products from tariffs and step up its ag buys. China's pork prices keep climbing. The country's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs said prices rose more than 9% earlier this month. The African swine fever situation has reduced pork supplies, and reports indicate major hog breeders are holding on to gilts to rebuild breeding herds instead of sending those animals to slaughter. And efforts to contain ASF continue here at home as well. The Senate has approved a bill to address a shortage of agricultural inspectors at key ports of entry. The bipartisan bill passed by unanimous consent. It authorizes U.S. Customs and Border Protection to hire an additional 240 agricultural specialists annually until the workforce shortage is filled. The bill also authorizes the training and assignment of 20 new canine teams annually. Also in Washington, a new proposal to move the entire Department of Agriculture out of Washington, D.C. This proposal comes from Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley. He introduced the legislation as part of a plan to relocate most of the nation's federal agencies out of Washington, D.C., including the USDA, which has already started to move 2 of its research departments to Kansas City. Howley saying the departments should go to economically distressed regions. For instance, he proposes moving the Department of Education to Tennessee and the Department of Energy to nearby Kentucky, saying other parts of the country should have the right to compete for those jobs too. Coming up, we take a closer look at China's demand for pork right now and the role the U.S. could play. And we look at the rise in something called ghost restaurants. But this isn't a spooky Halloween tale.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
Arlen Suderman with INTLFC Stone here at our Kansas City studios. And Arlen, let's talk about the situation in China and ASF. You feel like there's still significant impact that could be at play for not just hog producers, but the entire protein complex.
Absolutely. We're far from the end of this. We expect it to continue to increase. Our industry sources inside of China, and we have a lot of customers and people inside of China, indicate to us that we're probably looking at hog numbers down 60 to 70%. They're feeding those hogs where they've been able to avoid the disease to higher weights, about 20% higher weights, so higher soy meal inclusion in those where they're still feeding. So pork production itself is probably down 45%, maybe as much as 50%, and continuing to have problems. Some farms are avoiding it, making their employees live on the farm for 2 to 3 months at a time, increases their cost, but feeding margins $400 a head, hogs at $250 per hundredweight. You should take 6 months to clean your farm to get rid of the disease. With those kind of margins, they're rushing back within a month and are having an 80 to 90% re-hit rate. Oh, wow. So it's a lot of problems. You go to a restaurant, you order pork, I'm sorry, we're out of it today. You hear that over and over again. Prices are exploding higher. Food inflation is rapidly surging. The CPI just came out for China at 3%. That doesn't sound too bad, but it was largely because of pork prices going up, pulling other meats with it. We expect that to eventually hit the United States with higher pork prices here, raising consumer demand for beef and poultry as well.
Yeah, because it will force pork prices here higher at some point, which means American consumers are likely going to turn to beef and pork and poultry.
Exactly right. China just made the largest purchase by any buyer of U.S. pork in record in the latest week reported. And we can expect them to continue to come back, and that's going to raise retail prices here in the United States and support beef and poultry prices then as well.
All right, a pretty dynamic market. Appreciate it, Arlen. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a second.
Contact Arlen Suderman by email at arlen.suderman@intlfcstone.com. To help achieve your personal best yield, try Delaro fungicide for corn and soybeans.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen taking a look at rainfall over the past week. And Cindy, there were some pockets that got quite a bit of rain in the last week.
Oh, absolutely, and even over the weekend as well. Now, this is last Saturday just through Friday, so it doesn't include that weekend rain, but you can see there's been a fair amount of it, especially in the southeastern quarter of the country. Oklahoma City, you can see there much of Oklahoma, Arkansas, eastern parts of Texas, and then all the way down into Florida. There's been a fair amount of rain in those areas, and then a little bit of a disruption to harvest in at least a few spots, but some of this that you're seeing in these northern stretches has been in the form of snow. So we've had some more pockets of heavier precipitation in the north. Looking at the drought monitor, we still have some pretty dry conditions despite some improvements in the short-term moisture. We still have some long-term issues in the southeast, in the south central United States, and in much of the Four Corners region in the southwest. That's something we don't see going away really anytime soon. Looking though at this week ahead of us, we're looking at some above normal precipitation for the eastern half of the country. Now harvest, at least for the parts of the central and western corn belt, may look good as we see normal precipitation and several dry days, especially in the early part of the week. But it looks a bit on the dry side in much of the western United States as we head through the week. Temperatures, though, have been a very big story, and we are looking at some pretty chilly air right smack dab in the middle of the country. We showed you that big trough in the jet stream earlier on in the show. We are looking at much below normal temperatures right in the heart of the country. The warmer air right along the east coast, a little bit in the west, southwest as well. Looking at the next 30 days, we're still thinking maybe just a little on the cool side, especially in northern areas and especially earlier on in the 30 days. I think it does start to warm up, though, later on in the 30 days. But we are looking at a stronger signal of those warmer temperatures, especially along the east coast, the south, and into the west. And as far as precipitation is concerned, looks like a little dry then in the southeastern part of the country, Great Lakes into the upper Midwest, over into parts of California and Oregon and Idaho, and then it looks like maybe some above normal precipitation as we look at parts of the Four Corners region. Otherwise, fairly normal for most of the corn, but at least the southern parts of the Corn Belt on into the northeast and into the northern high plains. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Pilot Rock, Oregon, mostly sunny for you today with a high of 50 degrees. Iron River, Michigan, partly cloudy but some snow possible late today. High temperatures in the upper 30s. Anthony, Florida, showers likely with a high of 86 degrees.
Up next, Mondays wouldn't be complete without Machinery Pete.
You love Deere 55 series tractors? If you do, folks, trust me, you're going to want to stay tuned.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
Everyone has their favorite machine. Well, this morning, Machinery Pete looks at one popular series and recent auction action for those looking to buy.
Well, Deere made the popular 55 series model tractors just a couple years, from 1989 to 91. Very popular. Now, you might remember from last December, I shared the story of this John Deere 4455 with only 1,904 actual one-owner hours on it, selling on an auction, consignment sale in Kenyon, Minnesota, by my good friends at Maring Auction. Went for $90,500, record high auction price I've ever seen on a 4455 sold without a loader. It was over $10,000 over the previous record. Now, these 55 series tractors, I mean, they don't have to be super low hours to sell well. Condition is everything. And a perfect example is a week ago Saturday on a farm auction out in west central Oregon. Here's a picture. They had 5 beautifully conditioned John Deere tractors, all over 10,000 hours, including a pair of 4955s. Now, one of them went for $40,300. The other went for $39,600. Both mechanical front, both power shift, no duals. Now, to give you an idea how strong that is with those hours, the current average auction price this year on 4955s is $28,835. Now folks, if you want a great story on a John Deere 4955, you got to check out our latest Machinery Pete podcast, where I share the story of this 1990 4955 two-wheel drive from the little farming town of West Texas. This thing only has 958 actual one-owner hours on it. It was owned by Joe Holly Jr., passed away 4 years ago, and now his son Larry from South Dakota is trying to sell this tractor. But Larry tells us the story of the tractor and his father, Joe. It's a great story. Check it out.
All right, thanks, Greg. Halloween is only a few days away. Up next, we'll explore the rise of ghost restaurants and why it's a growing trend in the food industry.
Join Andrew McRae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
First, it was sit down, then fast food. Now restaurants are going full ghost on their customers. Carrie Antelfinger reports on the rise of ghost restaurants.
Customers come to Fredo's Culinary Kitchen for their pizza and burgers, but their grilled cheese restaurant doesn't get any foot traffic because it's one of thousands of so-called virtual restaurants popping up across the U.S.
You have to try to see what trends are coming and try to get ahead of the game on that as much as possible. And a lot of it happens to be right now virtual restaurants.
Virtual restaurants are attached to traditional restaurants, but make a different kind of food just for delivery through phone apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub.
Consumers are going to rate how good the food is, and if the food's not very good, they're not going to be rated very highly, and they're not going to do very well. So from that standpoint, it's a pretty fair, market-driven system.
Digital restaurant orders have become a nearly $30 billion market in the U.S., according to the NPD Group.
As real estate prices go up and rents go up at prime locations here in downtown Chicago, there's restaurants that are looking to have their footprint here in the city that just can't afford to do your traditional brick and mortar.
In Chicago, Be Good operates as a ghost kitchen, where it doesn't have a storefront and only makes food for delivery and takeout. The restaurant, which makes grain bowls, salads, and wraps, leases space from a company looking to become a leader in virtual kitchens called Kitchen United. Kitchen United is backed by $10 million in Google money. It already has locations in Chicago and one in California, but plans to open 40 more by next year. Restaurants modernizing their approach to cater to a changing industry. Carrie Angelfinger, Associated Press.
All right, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spend part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.